Good afternoon and welcome to Your Health is Wealth. I'm your host, Dr. Stephen Katz, alongside my co-host, Dr. Loreena Ryder. We're here to help you navigate your journey to wellness. We like to do it simply without all that confusing medical terminology that everyone hates. We're here to provide practical solutions to your health issues that allows your body's healing systems to do the work for you. It's simple, it's natural, and it works. If you're still struggling with your health, you can come see us at Naturopathic Physicians Group to help get your life back. On that note, in medicine, I seem to remember everything.
That's what
matters.
matters.
That's why doctoring was good for me. But when it comes to remembering what people are doing, birthdays, all that other stuff, I am awful at that.
I get it. I'm the same. Don't worry about it. It might not be a male-female thing then. Might be a doctor thing.
But I do remember the medicine, I promise.
Yeah, good. Dr. Ryder here with your topic of the day. So today we are going to be talking about healthy weight and how to achieve it. I think it will be a rather popular topic, because we do have a lot of patients that come in with weight gain as their main complaint. So that's partly why we decided to do this about the importance of a balanced diet and exercise. Yes, you do have to put in work to get yourself at a healthy weight. So what we'll talk about today are the basics of nutrition and why your nutrition will affect your ability to control your weight.
So wait, when you said you have to put your work in, that mean those diets where they say you can eat cookies and cake, they don't work?
Not unless you're eating one piece of cake and one cookie per day, and then you'll just be starving, and you'll lose weight.
The starvation diet.
Yeah.
That works always for about 10 days, and you feel like crap. All right, so symptoms you will have associated with poor weight, of course, weight is one of them. Inability to lose weight. These are the people that I've tried everything. I've been on every diet, every fad diet, my hormones, everything, and they just can't lose weight no matter what they do. Even starving themselves, they might not lose weight, or they'll lose very small amounts.
That was popular if you were like early 20s and you had to fit into a certain pair of jeans that weekend. You knew how to drop a couple pounds by starving yourself for a couple days that week. That doesn't work when you are in your 40s. It just does not work.
Yeah, we hear it a lot from people that will say, I've done this before and I was able to lose weight when I was 20, but now when I try it, it's impossible. So that is a significantly common misconception when they think, I did this before, so it's easy to do it the next time. And it generally does not. Your body is completely different. Your immune system's different. You could have had kids. You could have had other factors that have totally destroyed any chance of that old diet working again. Brain fog, insulin resistance is a huge one. So diabetics out there or pre-diabetics have a much harder time losing weight. And a lot of the drugs they give people, like insulin, will actually make it harder for you to lose weight too. So diabetes is a major problem when it comes to weight loss. Type 2 diabetes is a major problem when it comes to weight loss.
Metabolic syndrome is something that is prevalent in the United States. So if you take a look at body shapes, the person who has metabolic syndrome is likely an apple or a pear-shaped body. That means your shoulder and your upper torso area is larger than your lower torso area. That's the apple. The pear shape is where your hips are much larger than the upper torso area and your shoulder. So someone with metabolic syndrome is going to have increased blood pressure, high glucose, excess weight, and body fat, specifically around the waist. Likely your labs will reveal high cholesterol and triglycerides as well. If you're struggling with losing your weight, you already know that your body shape has changed. Your clothes are just fitting differently. You might even experience some decreased endurance. Oh, man, I'm winded after going up these stairs whenever I should not be, or I didn't used to be.
That's another thing too, is it's another misconception too, because when people are exercising, they used to do this much, and so then they don't exercise for 2 years, think the next time they go to the gym, they're going to be able to just jump right back into the same exercising, and they just can't. And if they try to do that, they're just going to be so sore the next day that they'll end up quitting after one day. And we hear that a lot as well. But joint pain, that excess weight gain will put more pressure. Gravity is our friend because it keeps us on the ground. Gravity is a bitch when it comes to everything else. It makes everything droop, it makes everything hang, and it makes everything else hurt. That being said, without gravity, we'd be floating around, so that's not good either. But joint pain is a big one. And if you try to jump into that gym again and try to do the same thing, if you have more weight on your system, you're just going to hurt yourself more. That doesn't mean don't exercise. It just means you have to do it appropriately.
Just basically take it easy, starting out slow, and just keep showing up is probably the best advice I can give you. If you notice that your breathing is heavier than normal when you're just doing regular activities, or go take a walk, so that's going to be an indication that your weight has increased. And also, if sleep apnea is now a problem where it wasn't before, and if you don't know that you have sleep apnea, but you're not feeling refreshed when you wake up, you might want to go get that checked out, because that can be an indication that you're at an unhealthy weight.
Yeah, because it's about oxygen at that point. If you're not getting enough oxygen in your system, your body can't heal. Your body can't fight infections as well. Your body doesn't have the endurance. So sleep apnea is a major indicator that you have other issues in your system, and weight gain is the number one reason why somebody will have, or just overweight is the number one reason why somebody will have sleep apnea. Now, there's common causes of there, and it's not always just because you eat too much, but it, of course, is the number one reason for it. It's not just eating too much, it's what you eat. But genetics do play a role, but a lot of people like to use genetics as their blame. It's not my fault I ate 12 cheeseburgers at dinner. It was genetic. You can't just blame genetics. Plays a role, most definitely. But we see people where, is it really the genetics, or is it that you learned your habits from your family? And a lot of people like to blame the genetics because we look for a scapegoat out there. But blaming the family does not fix the problem of the overweight. So you can't just use that as an excuse and then keep eating poorly.
Yeah, there are some other factors that can influence your weight. Like we talked about sleep apnea. So just sleep quality in general. If you're not getting enough sleep, or you're getting poor quality sleep, it'll cause your cortisol to increase, and then your weight will creep up. Stress. We talk about stress a lot here on the show. That's also a cortisol related stressor on your body. Hormones. Yes, they do have a big role in weight management, but just like genetics, you can't really blame your hormones. A lot of people will say, oh, I think it's my hormones, but they never actually get them tested or checked to be sure.
Or tested incorrectly.
That too.
Or tested by a doctor that doesn't actually understand hormones.
That too.
It happens. Physical activity, if you're not active, and again, jumping right into activity can become more problematic, because if you hurt yourself, you're not going to want to keep exercising. And of course, diseases, medications. If you're not digesting your nutrients properly, if you have a bad GI tract, you don't absorb the nutrients, you can't metabolize. Your body won't be able to, so you'll just store more body fat. And of course, food access, whether that be a financial thing where you can't afford healthy food versus just you only have access to the Circle K around the corner, so your dinner is Starburst. You have to be careful out there on what you're actually eating.
100%. Thanks for tuning in to Your Health is Wealth. We're from Naturopathic Physicians Group. This is Dr. Ryder. Dr. Katz is here with me. We discuss a different topic about natural remedies for your health every week. And today we are talking about healthy weight and how to achieve it.
Every single week I do a segment called What Isn't Your Doctor Telling You? And it's not an anti-doctor segment. It's just more that when you see your primary care physician and you start asking questions, oftentimes they don't know the answer to most of them. So then they just refer you out. So I like to tell you a tidbit or give you a tidbit that you can use with your day-to-day and hopefully help you keep peace of mind or get healthier. So today, since we're talking about healthy weight, the question is, should you weigh yourself every day? Answer?
No.
No.
Even though I do.
And almost anybody who's doing a diet or following some protocol, they want to weigh themselves every single day. Now, you have to understand that digestion plays a very big role on how our weight processes after we eat. So depending on what you eat and when you eat it, it will fluctuate and change the scale even if you check it at the same time every single day. So if you're the person that wakes up in the morning, first thing you do is go weigh yourself, so you're naked and you have no clothes on, no water in your system. That's going to be your most accurate check when it comes to a fast. However, because of what you eat during the day, if you ate something different for dinner or something more heavy for dinner, it will still be in that digestive process, because the typical digestive process can be 16 to 20 hours. So you have not digested all of that food from the night before. So how much water you drank, how much you ate, and what you ate during that time will fluctuate that scale. So taking your weight every single day is not a fair marker to determine on whether or not your diet plan is working. It's also a problem because a lot of people will get discouraged. They'll eat nothing or eat very little and follow the diet perfectly. And the next day they're like, how the hell did I not lose a pound yesterday? Or why did I gain a half a pound yesterday? And then they get discouraged and then they dump the diet. They're more likely to be discouraged and more likely to dump the diet. So weighing yourself every day oftentimes is not beneficial for the long-term outcome of your health and your diet. So on that note, how often should you do it? At most, once to twice a week. And yes, I didn't say day. I said once to twice a week, because the average amount of person in a healthy weight loss is 1 to 2 pounds a week. And if you check it every day, you're going to have more discouraging aspects, because you're going to have days of nothing, or days where it is a half a pound gain and there's not really a problem with that. When you see the once to twice a week trend, you start to see that it's on average 1 to 2 pounds a week, and it keeps you trucking forward, keeps you moving forward.
And also, I'll see at the office, patients will come in and I'll take their weight if it's the first time I've seen them, or first time I've seen them in a year or two. And they will get upset at the scale because they'll say, I weigh 4 more pounds than I did this morning. You have clothes on. You've probably eaten 2 meals by now. And that's just how it goes. So just as a reminder, maybe not weigh yourself in the middle of the day unless that's your consistent time that you weigh yourself once a week. So let's talk about quantity of food intake, or the wrong type of food intake. The standard American diet acronym is SAD, S-A-D, and it really is frowny face SAD. Let's talk about the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. You probably...
It's not the So Awesome diet.
It is not. Our bodies prefer a 4 to 6 to 1 ratio. That's, I might have to explain that a little bit, of omega-6 to omega-3. That's our body as a total. So more omega-6s than omega-3s. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So basically, omega-6 are inflammatory, omega-3s are anti-inflammatory, but our body needs both. It works on ratios. Everything's about balance. And you actually need more inflammation in your body than anti-inflammatory, contrary to belief where everybody thinks all inflammation is bad. However, the standard American diet is typically 14 to 16 to 1 on inflammation to anti-inflammation.
That's a really big difference.
It's a really big difference when you want to be 4 to 1 or less. In fact, our brain works closer to 1. So the closest you can get to 1 is actually the healthiest way for our bodies to function. So again, when we're talking about eating clean, if somebody's eating the SAD diet, they tend to eat a lot more of those really bad oils, a lot more of those really omega-6, sunflower seed, canola oil, all the junky things, and they're just inflaming their system to a lot higher. And this is the reason why people take fish oil. If their ratios are not good, instead of actually cutting out the bad omega-6s and get them into a normal range, they're just saying, hey, I'll take a pill for that.
Yeah. Let's talk about what a calorie is. So we hear a lot about calorie restriction diets, and make sure you're eating this many calories if you're trying to lose this weight, depending on how much you weigh currently, how old you are, your level of activity. So the measurement of the energy content of food is called a calorie. So the body needs calories to perform its functions. This is functions as easy as breathing, circulating the blood, and physical activity. These are things that you do not have control over except for the physical activity. So what's the breakdown when it comes to food? So 1 gram of protein equals 4 calories. 1 gram of carbohydrates equals 4 calories. 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories.
Now, again, when you base, this is why I'm not a huge fan of caloric restriction, is because they basically say all forms of protein, all forms of carb, all forms of fat are the same. Basically, when we just look at the level of, oh, this is calories, you're not taking into account eating healthy food, because there's definitely better carbs. You're much better off eating a gram of fruit versus a gram of refined sugars.
Yeah, if you take a typical McDonald's meal, like you've got the burger, the fries, and the soda, I don't know what that is, like 2,000 calories or something like that.
No, Diet Coke has 0 calories.
1,900 calories. But if you put plates of healthy food there with the same amount of calories, you're going to have probably 5 plates of healthy food there that you could eat with the same amount of calories. Now, generally speaking, how many calories should you have? For women, and this is just general, keep in mind, between 1,600 and 2,400 calories per day. And for men, about 2,000 to 3,000 calories per day. That's just to maintain your current body weight. Obviously, if you're going to want to lose weight, you would have to adjust that.
Yeah, caloric restriction will work, but you still have to make sure you're getting the nutrients, or you'll burn muscle. You're not going to burn fat in the process.
Right.
But that lack of physical exercise, like we talked about before, if you have a sedentary lifestyle, this includes with work. If you're sitting down behind a computer all day long and then you go home and then you watch TV, you're not doing any exercise. So you'll still burn that 1,000 to 2,000 calories just by the normal metabolism in our bodies, but you're not going to be able to gain a good, healthy physique. You're not going to be able to, because you're going to be a lot of fat and not a lot of muscle.
Yeah, that's from that general sedentary lifestyle, the couch potato lifestyle. Also, stress, we talked about that before, and how that can make you gain weight or not allow you to lose weight, and that's stress eating. This isn't just for people. I feel like my animals stress eat. Do yours? My pets?
My pets?
Yeah. I see them do it.
Do I let my pets eat?
Oh, yes, you do.
I think my pets make me stress eat.
Oh.
Because my pets are a pain in the...
Same. No,
Oh.
Yeah. But anyway, stress eating is more like a comfort level. My cat was starved as a kitten before I got it. And so I think now it's like that brain thing.
I think when it comes to treats, they get so excited, but since there's 2 dogs at our house, they feel like they have to fight for that. So it is a stress to them, you can tell. And that's why they jump up and scratch the crap out of you until they get one. One of them's really at home is Batman, my dog Batman.
I know Batman.
Yeah, he's really good at catching, so you throw food at him and he catches it right in the mouth. The other one's an idiot, and that dog's name is Kitty Katz. And you throw food at her, and she just lets it smack her right in the face, and then it hits the ground, and then she searches the ground for it.
Oh, my gosh.
So she's never learned that you can actually catch it with your mouth.
Batman and kitty cats.
Batman, and then Kitty Katz the dog, and then Batman Katz the dog.
My cat's name is Tuna. I have a cat named Tuna.
We have problems.
Yeah. So also we talked about lack of sleep being an issue as well. I think we have an entire episode on how important sleep is for your body. But yes, that raises that cortisol and helps you not drop weight. The hormone imbalance, if you've ever been diagnosed with a condition called PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome, estrogen dominance, post-pregnancy definitely will cause hormone imbalance. Perimenopause, this is where I see most of my patients come in with weight complaints, is right around perimenopause.
And this is when the men stress eat.
Oh.
Is when their wives are going through menopause.
I get it.
It's a connection. It's a vicious cycle. But I won't do that because I'm a loving husband that understands.
You better believe you are.
I am. But on that lack of sleep, when people have lack of sleep, they end up stress eating. And tell me, do people ever eat healthy when they stress eat?
Heck no. It's not comfort.
They want that happiness. They're going for the ice cream. They're going for the junk food. This is why Taco Bell is open past 11 and 12 o'clock. People can't go to sleep, or they're tired, or something's going wrong that's making them stressful. And they're like, oh, let's go get those crunchy tacos. And then they feel like shit the next day because they just ate something.
But they felt good in that moment.
They felt good. Yeah, the stress eat feels good in that moment.
Dr. Ryder here with your tip of the week. So talking about healthy weight and how to either maintain it or decrease it if that's what you're looking to do, or some people, the rare few, need to increase their weight. Tracking your food intake is a really great tool. Recording your food intake is really the first step in controlling your weight. It also helps you have control over the ratio of macros that you're looking to intake during your day. So let's say weight isn't really your goal, but gaining muscle is your goal, or just toning your body in general. That's when you really want to concentrate on your macros, your fats versus your carbs versus your protein intake. You want to get those percentages correct. There are plenty of free apps out there that can help you with this. You can input the amount of carbs, protein, and fat that you want to accomplish in that day, and then the app will keep track of that and display your current intake. As far as patient care, I recommend that patients begin to track their food intake even prior to starting a diet or creating a new eating regimen, because that way you can see the ratio of what you're eating, and it's likely not what you expected it would be.
So basically what you're saying is if you're trying to lose weight and maintain healthy weight, it's better to track what you're eating than track the scale.
Yes.
100% agree with that. Again, just like we said earlier in the last segment, it's like weighing yourself every day is the absolute most stressful way to do it and the most likely way for someone to fail because they get discouraged and they'll quit. But tracking the foods means you are physically seeing what you're eating and you'll know if you're eating clean or not. It's kind of like that truth. The truth. You're like, okay, I gained weight yesterday. I cheated on lunch. I ate a little bit more garbage, and maybe that's why I didn't lose the weight in that day. So it's a much better way to look at the diet as a whole.
Yep. And I find that the reason why I want people to track it before they're even on a diet is because I want them to, like, when you think about it in your brain, it's different than actually seeing it on black and white. Because when you think about it, you're like, I really didn't eat that much, or I thought I ate pretty healthy. But then when you see it on paper, it's right there in black and white in truth, and it's not what you thought.
And when we go over food testing, which we talk about almost every week, food testing, people will always go, I don't eat as much dairy as I think. I don't eat as much gluten as they're always like, I don't eat that much of it. And then they go back and look in their pantry, and half their pantry is full of gluten or dairy, or half their fridge is full of gluten or dairy. And they're like, wow, I was eating so much more of this than I was thinking. So writing it down is accountability. And it really gives you the mindset of, wow, I was eating like shit and didn't know it.
One piece of toast for breakfast every day, that adds up. That's significant.
And then putting egg on that with a piece of cheese and then saying my McDonald's breakfast was healthy doesn't always work. So another reason why you'll gain weight and not necessarily be able to get rid of it is cortisol imbalance. Cortisol is your stress hormone. When the body has too much cortisol, you'll basically store body fat. So
and it's around the middle.
And it's around the middle. That doesn't mean if you have it around the middle, you now have a cortisol imbalance, but it is generally a cortisol imbalance where the fat will be in that midsection. And of course, there's a disease out there called Cushing syndrome when the body has way too much cortisol for a very long period of time. But there's other symptoms that are associated with Cushing's disease. It affects blood sugar. It affects heart, affects a lot of different things. So just because you have too much cortisol does not mean you have Cushing's.
Yeah, there's also thyroid hormone imbalance. And this is something that we check at least annually on our patients because thyroid hormone does play a role in weight, either too much weight or too little weight. So there is hypothyroidism. There's also hyperthyroidism. And then there's autoimmune component that could be Hashimoto's or Graves' disease. So that's important to have that monitored at least annually, and not just by the TSH marker, which is typically what a medical doctor would do, but there are several other markers that give us much more information about this.
Yeah, it's not about what they do check, it's about what didn't they check. If they're basing the drug you're on just TSH, they're literally basing the drug that they're going to tell you to be on the rest of your life. They're basing it strictly on the brain component of the thyroid. They're not even looking at the full thyroid. So if you have a doctor that does not run a full thyroid, or when you ask them to run a full thyroid and they refuse to run the rest of the thyroid, you need to find yourself a new doctor because they don't know anything about the thyroid.
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you. So there's also toxic environment. Again, there's a lot of heavy metals out there, but heavy metals will affect your metabolism. If you're really high in some of these heavy metals, you can't break your food down properly. You can't break down nutrients properly, can't break down anything properly. So you're more likely to gain weight and have a difficult time to lose the weight.
And with the pollution that's out there now, the chemicals that we buy our food packaged in, and there is a lot of toxins out there in our environment. And honestly, anybody above the age of 40 is likely going to have high lead content in their body just from the way we grew up with lead paints, leaded fuel, lead pipes, etc. Also, nutrient deficiencies. A lot of people will wonder why they need to take supplements. Can I just get my nutrients from my foods? In a perfect world, back in the dark ages, that might have been the case, but that is
Just
not
go
the
back
case.
600 years.
Yes, there was still
Last
nutrients.
time food was quality was in 1545.
When the cows pooped on the ground that you grew your asparagus on. Yes, that was fine.
The blood of Henry VIII's wives was in the soil, and you're getting all that rich iron from that blood.
There you go. Also, diabetes is a concern, obviously, for weight control, because once you've reached to the point where you have diabetes, you also have insulin resistance, and that, we've talked about it before, it makes it harder for you to lose weight whenever you have that insulin resistance. Now, it's not something that we can't work with. We definitely can work with it, and there are good supplements and medications out there to help out with that.
And back on the toxic environment a little bit too, oftentimes when people may have heavy metal toxicity, they go to their doctor, they talk about them. If the doctor has any idea about what that is anyway, they send you for a blood test. Most heavy metals don't just sit in your blood. They sit in tissues. They sit in your bones. They sit anywhere other than blood.
In your brain.
Your brain. So if they only run your blood tests and then it comes back normal, that does not mean you don't have heavy metal toxicity. You have to test it correctly. And the way to do that is usually through urine testing, but you also need to provoke it. You need to pull it out of the tissues. And most doctors have no clue how to do that. So again, if heavy metals are a potential problem, you need to see a doctor that knows what they're doing with heavy metals. And again, if your doctor only runs blood tests, you need to find another doctor. I keep telling you to find another doctor. So do you know any good doctors?
I know a few. But also on that, the toxic body environment, if you do have a open-minded doctor, a kind enough doctor that's, sure, I'll run it for you. What would you like to have ran? And they run the blood and it comes back, there's nothing in there. That just means that you're not currently exposed to that particular. If I actually had this scenario, but I had a patient who thought that maybe perhaps that they were being poisoned. That's an instance to run a blood panel.
I had a patient once that was being poisoned.
Oh, yikes.
I did. It was freaky. More for them. I mean, we helped clean them out, but yeah, they found out a family relative was actually poisoning
Whoa.
them. Yeah, that person, as far as I know, is still in jail.
Yikes.
It was an interesting process because I'd never had that happen before.
Wow.
And yeah, it's real.
That's unfortunate.
So yeah, people do poison people. I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
So what about the BMI? What do you think of the BMI?
I think the BMI is outdated, and I don't think it should be relied upon to gauge your.
And again, it's not an end-all be-all too, but most people use the waist as a sign of whether or not their diet is working, though. They're always calculating based on inches. Oh, and when you hear advertisements for dietary plans, they're like, we guarantee you're going to lose 2 inches within your first 10 days of doing this diet, and they get all excited about it. And that's why they use that measurement, because they base it on health statistics. That being said, there are people out there that have wider hips. Their pelvic bones are wider. They're never going to be able to shrink that aspect and get into that correct inches from that standpoint too. So it's not the best number to look at. But in general, if someone goes, hey, I was a size whatever, and I'm now 2 sizes smaller after 2 months or 1 month, that's a sign they can use to say they're improving.
Yeah, I'm sure you've probably seen there's a picture out there that has 5 or 6 different body shapes in it, and they all weigh the same. They're all 150 pounds, but you can see how different 150 pounds can look on each person.
And why do they, with men, use the actual inches around, and with women, they do a half of that?
What do you mean, like the 30 and the 45?
No, like with men, it's okay, your pant waist size is 32, but a 32 on a woman's like 12. Is that just so the women don't get mad?
Oh, you mean the pant sizes?
Yeah. Is that just so they're not mad because they're like, God forbid I'm a 32?
Hey, that's a really good question.
It's bullshit. They make every man think everything's a problem.
I'm Dr. Loreena Ryder alongside my co-host, Dr. Stephen Katz. We're here to discuss different topics on health and natural ways to treat them. And today we are talking about healthy weight and how to achieve it.
I'm not satisfied with the response. Why are men's pant sizes the actual measurement, but women's pant sizes are like a third of that?
Hey, this got me thinking. I don't have an answer for you. I
think it's something bullshit. It's probably a feminist thing out there where some feminists is like, there's no way I can be a 32 or a 34, and there's no way I can have the same waist as my husband. So the way to make them feel better, they just went and said, oh, you're a 12. And they just picked a number randomly out of nowhere, and they're like, this should be a 14. This should be a 6. They even have a size 0. What the hell is 0? How can you be a 0? It's a 0.
I don't know.
Does that mean you're just not there? Do you fall through the cracks when you're in the middle of walking down the sidewalk? All right, so what would you measure if you're going to be trying to get healthy and have a healthy weight? What type of labs would you run?
You would just run traditional CBC, which checks your red and white blood cells, CMP, which checks your kidney and liver function, insulin, obviously. Now, this is something that kind of gets me all fired up because when I have patients that come in with regular labs from a traditional doctor, I shouldn't say never, I rarely ever see insulin, and it's important. Hemoglobin A1C should be on there, and then the lipid panel to check your cholesterol and your triglycerides.
And we talked about cortisol and thyroid earlier, but really running a full hormone panel is really vital because you need to be able to see how everything is balanced. It's not as simple as here's estrogen, here's testosterone, you're low in this, you're low in that. Hormones are about homeostasis. They're about balance. If you don't have balance between the whole system, none of it works.
Yeah. We're not going to finish all of this today, right?
No, we're doing our best, though.
Okay. So some traditional treatments that are used for weight control are appetite suppressant medications. And this is huge out there right now. There are injections that are being used that are FDA approved for diabetes and insulin resistance, but they're actually being used for weight loss. These are appetite suppressant medications. Liraglutide, which is Saxenda, basically it tells your brain that your stomach is full. And this is a higher dose diabetes medication of the drug Victoza.
Yeah, and some of the really popular old school ones is, why don't you give yourself some legal speed and you can take some phentermine. It's basically legal speed in a sense. It is used to curb your appetite, and it's a stimulant, and it gets your body metabolizing. This is a controlled drug, though. It is not without sin. It's one of those things that I have prescribed it. I prescribe it when necessary, but we have tried and exhausted many other options before we jump into something like that.
Yeah, and these are drugs where you have to be careful that you might develop anxiety. I would definitely tell people to stop drinking their caffeinated coffee and any caffeinated drinks they have, because that's just going to create a bigger problem. There's also, this one is huge right now, semaglutide, Wegovy, or Ozempic. These are all the same drug, but just different brand names. So this also decreases your appetite, helps you feel full. And this is a drug that was originally approved for type 2 diabetes because it stimulates insulin production. But now it's pretty much just used to treat obesity, or if you want to do cash pay and you want to lose some weight, this is what's happening.
And semaglutide's been around a long time, but then the pharmaceutical industry said, ooh, we should stop letting people actually use semaglutide. Let's commercialize it, charge 3 times the amount of money or more, and give it to as many people as we can, regardless of side effects. So that sounds about what the pharmaceutical company tends to do.
Yeah.
But basically, Ozempic is the one you're seeing all the commercials on right now, too. And they make everybody like, wow, I lost all this weight. I feel great. And then you realize then all the articles come out of all the side effects that are associated with it. These are not for everybody. There are a lot of people that do very well on these drugs because it is just a peptide. But on the other hand, though, it is not for everybody.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do have major side effects with regards to Wegovy or Ozempic, which are both different forms of semaglutide peptide.
Yeah, they do have their place for sure, but I feel like it's being abused.
You know, when people are trying to lose weight, a lot of times people say, they ask me the question, should I eat 3 meals in a day? And I tell them there's no rule for that. That's like a Western idea. 1 to 2, not 1 to 2, but 2 meals to 3 meals tends to be correct. The problem is then a lot of times a patient will then go, if I eat 3 meals in a day, how many should I eat at night? And that's when we get, I'm just kidding on that, but that's when you get into a disconnect when it comes to it.
Yeah. So there's also bariatric surgery. This is a modification in the size of your stomach. I remember learning about this surgery when I was probably in middle school or high school, and I was absolutely horrified because one of my neighbors had gotten it. So gastric bypass surgery is where the stomach is surgically cut, and then they pretty much just leave the upper pouch, and that's now your new stomach. So when you have a smaller stomach, you can't fit as much food in there. Guess what? You can't eat as much, and then you lose weight.
And then you've also got the sleeve, which is a more popular, I think, and I think a lot more people go to this versus the full-on gastric bypass. But basically, they also cut it, and the larger portion of the stomach is removed. What's left is kind of like a sleeve, which is why they call it the sleeve. And a lot of people will lose a lot of weight really fast with both of these things. But you can put this weight back on, and you have to follow the directions because they give you very strict diet directions once you're done with these procedures, because your body just does not digest the same. You just cut a part of your digestive tract pretty much out. So it's like you have to be careful. And if you're not careful, you're going to cause a lot of other problems. The other thing is that when you have these types of procedures, you generally need to be on vitamins after that because you're not absorbing things anymore the way you used to. So a lot of them won't be on vitamins too. And then they start getting other chronic illnesses because they're not absorbing things properly. So these are really important. And it's not as simple as just my doctor after this gave me a multivitamin. It's not as simple as a multivitamin because there's a lot of issues that can be associated with the gastric bypass or the sleeve 15 years down the road that all stemmed with just your lack of digestion.
Yeah. And your stomach isn't just a pouch that holds food. It actually is an organ that would produce stomach acid and B12. And there's just a lot. If you're cutting your 3/4 of your stomach out, you're also cutting 3/4 of that digestive function out. Just keep that in mind. There's also the lap band surgery. That's the gastric band surgery. And this one is adjustable and reversible. So if you were to start out with any of these invasive procedures, that's what I would start out with for sure. There's no cutting, and it does reduce your stomach capacity like the cutting, but it also slows the passage of the food through your stomach. And the idea is to retrain your brain and your body to eat less food.
So think about, like, just take a step back and kind of look at the whole situation. We just went over everything that conventional doctors tend to do when it comes to losing weight, and we never once mentioned really diet. And that's the truth, is that, you know, in a conventional minded world, it's always about what drug can I give you? What procedure can I do? Do you want to be on a drug? Do you want surgery to lose your weight? It's the worst way to look at true healthy weight loss. You need to be able to heal the system and basically heal your body so you don't just lose the weight, you keep the weight off. So, you know, we can't talk about healthy weight in 44 minutes. There's way too much going into there. So we really focused on kind of like the conventional mind. And next we're going to do part 2 on this, and we're going to focus on what we do in the naturopathic field, and we think you'll love it.